Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. This is now video 20 in a row. That's right, we're doing a video a day until this channel hits 100K. I can't believe I've made it 20 days in a row. Kind of blows my mind. Now today, I'm actually supposed to be picking up from yesterday and replacing the front tire. Unfortunately, I forgot one component that I thought I ordered, but I guess I did not, or I did, and I'll find it after I receive the new one tomorrow. So this is the tube for the inside of the tire, because these are tubed tires. Tire is actually sitting in the back of the side-by-side. I forgot there is a little rubber strip that goes on the inside of the rim, and I don't have it. I screwed up, and because I screwed up, I'm actually going to make a video, which I wanted to do anyways, but this comment came from Jim Johnson 3244. I'm green with envy of your garage. Do you have a video of what you have in there, all the storage containers and such? So today we are going to make that video, which this was kind of on my agenda because I started looking actually at some old photos on my phone. 6 years ago, moved into this place and this garage was absolutely empty. And I did not have all of this stuff sitting in storage, waiting to be moved in here. Literally in the last 6 years, pretty much all of this is new. I actually had an apartment 6 years ago, and that is where this cart comes from, because in that apartment, we had an outside patio, and that was sitting in the patio with just a little 2-drawer toolbox, an old Craftsman ratchet set, really not a whole lot. And that was all of the tools that I had. And you know, a lot of YouTubers get a lot of stuff sponsored. I'm not exempt from that. Actually, Real Truck is a big reason why I've kind of gone as crazy as I have, because I've done so much truck stuff now that I just find myself like needing tools like this incredibly, probably unique Brannick 7600 spring compressor for doing strut work, things like that. But the rest of this stuff has just been my passion for having the right tools for the right job when the time comes. And then also, of course, having all of the storage for everything and making sure that the garage stays clean. So that's kind of my whole MO here is I like the garage to be clean. Every tool should have its own spot. And I also remember watching a Gas Monkey Garage episode. Actually, it was the Garage Rehab, that they went into this old shop and there was just like crap everywhere. And they told them like, hey, this stuff costs money. Every square foot that you have something taking up space costs money. So if you don't need it, throw it out. And I've been doing that for like the last couple years now. Is like everything I have, there's some specialty tools up here that really fit the bill of like probably don't need, but I'm not going to toss those, because when you need them, having that tool, you know, buying a tool that costs a couple $100 saves you thousands of dollars over the course of years. So there is some stuff you just kind of tuck away that you don't really need. But if you're holding on to containers of nuts and bolts, anything really beyond what I've got going on here, which is like nuts and bolts here and then some organization up here, you're probably wasting space. If you haven't needed it in 20 years, you could probably toss it. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what it is I've kind of assembled here over the years. I guess I'll start over here. You know, obviously just traditional ramps for the truck, a ladder. I've got a tent up in the corner here. Anytime that I'm working on the truck in, you know, this 110 plus degree days, which I don't like to be out here when it is that hot, but putting this huge 12 by 12 tent in the front of the garage just kind of helps keep some shade, prevents this sun creep, which over time actually will get up to here, and it just kind of bakes the whole garage. So it is nice to have that, that tent. This shelf up here is just kind of housing some things. There's some lights for the truck that I don't know. I actually bought those for the Ford, and then they just sat. Some other like outdoor lights, pressure washer I don't really use all that often. This Warren winch. This was sponsored years ago. I never made a video on it because it just didn't seem worthy of like its own dedicated video. Sorry, Warren. And then truck nets. I don't know, just some random nonsense up there. Then over here, we've got just some woodworking tools. I don't use a lot of that stuff all that often, but just a nice place to kind of keep that stuff organized. Of course, the compressor sitting over here. Then the bikes. These bikes, this rack actually I bought when we had a tiny little apartment, and that's how we used to store our bicycles in my bedroom, actually, which was super ghetto, but it was the only spot I had to store bicycles. and that is where that rack came from. The Super 73, I picked up a steady rack here, which is fantastic for the Super 73s. That is a really nice way to kind of keep that thing up out of the way, and also still keeps enough space that my wife can back into the garage without creaming that thing. Over here, again, kind of more of the same. What you guys will see is a lot of Milwaukee stuff here. You know, kind of starts with like the lawn stuff. I've just been like a huge Milwaukee fanboy. It started a couple years ago. I had a bunch of Makita tools and I just hated them. They were all terrible. Started with a lawnmower. I had I don't know, just wasn't a big fan of Makita. I bought an Impact, actually. This Impact here I bought, and it broke like right away, and I was like, just more crappy tools. But I sent it into Milwaukee and they replaced it like no questions asked. It was such a painless experience that I just kind of started buying more Milwaukee, and now it's gotten out of control. I got my sprayer here, which I use for scorpions because constantly battling them here in Arizona. I've got them pretty well under control, but occasionally I'll find a dead one here in the garage. But again, you know, buying tools like this sprayer, it costs like a couple $100, but I save, geez, I don't even know how much in like pest control every year. And I just love being able to do that stuff myself. This is actually my newest addition here, which is the 12-volt brushless vacuum, which is also now one of my favorite things because it's so much easier than having to plug in the rigid. That's great for going out in the backyard and vacuuming out the Traeger, whatever. So you start to notice like Milwaukee trend just starts to continue everywhere. It's like Milwaukee and Craftsman. Milwaukee and Craftsman, those are like my go-tos. I've moved a lot in my life, and because I moved a lot in my life, once I started like accumulating a lot of tools, I looked at the pack out system as like, heaven forbid that I ever had to move again. I can take these things and just stack them up and move them quickly without having just like random oddball sized containers or like totes and just having like complete chaos. So a lot of my organization comes from just growing up, having moved a ton and just always like never quite settling into where I'm at. I'm pretty settled here, but it's just that mentality has kind of followed through with me of just always being ready to rock and roll and move. These pack out crates, it's a great spot for like miscellaneous tools, my pneumatic tools. Here I've got some motorcycle tools and then automotive tools, things you don't need all the time, but you know exactly where they are when you need them. And then over here, just a bunch of pack out stuff for sanding paper, more motorcycle parts, electric, mobile socket set. The mobile socket set, we'll actually head over to the toolbox here and I'll show you what I'm talking about with that. A big fan of everything having its place. Move my daughter's little Indian electric bike. Love that thing. She loves that thing. One of the first things I did in this garage when I started buying things, I picked up the storage cabinet, the toolboxes. I actually rigged this thing up. This is not theoretically safe. It's safe the way I've got it because I've actually got it anchored to the wall, but this box is actually shallower than the rest of the boxes. So I just cut a couple 2x4s to support the back end. And then it's also attached to the wall behind it so that the whole thing can't come forward. And I also bought some bed stands just for a little extra security there to make sure the thing doesn't come forward. But this is, let's see, nothing really too crazy up here, just kind of gloves and a bunch of nonsense that I store up there, out of sight, out of mind. Every drawer is labeled. I don't know. Again, it's just like the super organized part of me is like, I want to know where everything is all the time. Funny thing is, I still come over here and like do the classic, you know, this thing, searching for stuff and find myself being like, oh, you idiot, you labeled everything. Like, where is it? Just typical, you know, screwdrivers, vice grips, let's see, hammers, automotive, a bunch of just random nonsense in here. This is going in the trash. I hate these things. I'll never use that ever again. Brake caliper, hangers, things like that. So just good to know where everything is. A bunch of drill bits, electrical data stuff. Getting into like the real good stuff. I definitely spent more than I needed to on these wrenches. It's kind of like the combination with the ratcheting ends. They fit in here perfect. And again, Milwaukee fanboy, so bought those. Now these, I bought this Milwaukee ratchet set because I loved that they had these pack out trays. what I have here is the mobile socket set carrying case. And if I'm gonna hit the road, if I'm gonna be going far distance, long road trips, towing anything, taking a side-by-side out, any of that kind of stuff, these fit into a pack-out case. They head into the truck, and then I can hit the road, and it's like real easy to kind of make that all mobile. Love the 12-volt ratchet. It's awesome. And then, of course, we've got 1/2 inch down here. And then we start getting into like the everything else. And then down here, just some more Milwaukee tools. I'm not gonna make this like a whole Milwaukee review video, but I think I'm gonna do like a whole, all of the Milwaukee things that I own video. Cause like, I started walking around here the other day and I was like, man, I like accidentally turned into like one of those Milwaukee fanboys, and it just happened over time. I have no business owning a electric grease gun, the 12-volt grease gun. But one day I was at Home Depot and they had it labeled wrong, and it was like, I think 80 bucks or something like that. And I was like, hell yeah, if they'll honor that price, I'm buying it. And I did. So this Omni wall up here, this is actually a product that I saw the first year that I went to SEMA, and I was like hooked right away. So I actually had a real American flag up here at one point, took that down, Omni wall, and this is where like all of the things that I need all of the time go. Love the product, not sponsored. It's fantastic. This workbench, Craftsman workbench, nothing nice or not nice. It's just a basic, nothing crazy workbench. Now I did go real crazy and like refinished this whole top because I also bought this hitch mount. And what this hitch mount is for my bench grinder. This is set up to be able to just grab it, pop it in, and then there's a hitch pin in there, which I would have to pull out. But that's how I use the bench grinder, but then not have to, have it taking up that space all of the time. Really nice way to do that. What a great way to have a bench grinder, but not have it taking up permanent bench space all of the time. And then in here, of course, I just keep like the standard shop towels. Love my Scott's Blue shop towels. Oils, things like that. I try not to keep anything like aerosol in here too much, because this also takes some of the sun and gets a little bit toasty, and I don't want aerosol cans blowing up in the summertime. But, just basic stuff in there. And then, of course, up top, we have oil drain pans. I actually just bought this guy from Amazon. It's a different type of drain pan for doing things like shocks and things like that I'll want to get into in the future. And then, of course, just some more woodworking, sawhorses tucked away. So that is my garage. I'm a huge fan of having all of the tools necessary to do everything that you can yourself. And I am far from a master mechanic, but I do find that you can really kind of figure things out yourself, save a bunch of money, have some pride being able to do your own wrenching, and you learn a ton about your stuff. So yeah, you could take your bike to the dealership, but it's gonna sit at the dealership for days, weeks, whatever. You're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars in labor costs that you can be kind of learning things yourself. And I've always taken the approach, I'm laughing at this one. This is one of my more recent additions to this stick or engine light for Milwaukee. Way too expensive for your average DIYer, which I am, but I have actually used the snot out of that light. I'm like a bit of an LED dork. I love flashlights and things like that, and man, that one I use it all of the time. So one of those tools that I probably put in my shopping cart and deleted, I don't know, over the course of like 2 years, a dozen times, and then finally one day I was like, you know what, just buy it. You've been looking at it forever, and I did. So when I built out like my whole shelving system here, which I just did that video recently, the full-size fridge, all of that stuff, I built it with intention. The jack stands that I barely ever really need, because these are like the big massive 12-tonners, up here out of the way. My tire balancer for the motorcycle, again, never need that. The Rabaconda tire changer, I'll be pulling that out to do this upcoming video. And then like a ball joint press. I've got an electric charger up there for like electric cars, things like that. I don't even own an electric car, but when I had the Harley Davidson Livewire I think that's when I picked that thing. I don't remember, but just stupid stuff like that. Over here is kind of like my most frequented stuff. You know, I've got the battery tender, which I always put the bike, and I try to put like loaners and things like that on tenders also, because the heat in Phoenix just demolishes batteries quickly if you don't tend them. I got my Sonos speaker, which I love, a couple of beers, Yeti beer koozies, things like that. The Harley Davidson manual, Rabaconda tire changer, any like specialty tools, things like that. It's nice to have the paper manual sitting over there. That is my garage tour. You know, I've even gone like everything that I do. I've got this Black Widow motorcycle stand back here, which I bought that back originally when I used to use the Pittsburgh jack. I just talked about that in the video I posted yesterday about the Let's Roll motorcycle dolly. When I was using just that Pittsburgh jack, I would also use the Black Widow stand there to kind of keep the bike more stable. But I never used that thing, so I just tucked it way back in that corner with that hot water tank. But I have actually since used that when I've rented trailers for moving, you know, motorcycles, stuff like that. So I just try, like, if I don't need it all the time, find a storage space that's like as far back as possible, that's not really in the way of anything else, and then keep everything that you do use frequently out front. So this is not meant to be a flex. This is not meant to be I'm a YouTuber and all of this stuff was given to me. Look at all this cool shit that I have. As a matter of fact, it's like I did all of this just over time, over the course of 5 or 6 years. And I think it's just a matter of where I came from. You know, my father has always wrenched on his own things. It's where I get it from. I actually hope to pass that down to my daughter as much as possible. And this space became kind of like a spot where I was like, man, I want to have this kind of space. So the one thing I will mention is that, like, while this stuff wasn't sponsored, I'm not wealthy. I've had good jobs, but this YouTube channel, the revenue that I've earned off of this channel has enabled so much of this. And without you guys, none of that would be possible. So I think it's unfair to say, like, I just kind of like bootstrapped this whole thing myself, as if like I didn't have this income coming in from YouTube. So think about it, for like the last 5 or 6 years, I've had this like paper route that I've had like play money for, that I've been able to do a lot of this stuff. A lot of it's also tax write-offs, things like that. So, you know, if I didn't have the YouTube channel, would I have all of this stuff? Absolutely not. But would I have half of it? You better believe it, because even if I didn't have the YouTube channel, I would still be wrenching on things myself. It's just who I am, and having this space, I would no doubt have this kind of stuff. Would not have the spring compressor. I would probably stick with the spring compressors, the old crappy, you know, death sticks that everybody uses. But for the most part, I would still have, probably this whole wall would still exist even without the YouTube channel. So I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit more of like what the garage is, and really like what it means to me. It's all about DIY. I highly recommend investing in like a decent toolbox, even if you don't do the extent of what I do. Everybody should basically have from here to there some sort of tool cabinet, some sort of toolbox, maybe even if it's just a small toolbox, and then a bench, and call that your complete garage. I would actually argue that you should also have like some sort of wall hanging system like this for like things that you need all of the time. It's nice to have that stuff like just in reach when you need it. So, that's kind of my take on it. The rest of everything else that I have here, you probably don't need. Actually, you definitely don't need, but if you want it, buy it. That's kind of my whole thing. And the way that this has all been built out over time has basically just been like, buy one of these Milwaukee pack-out crates 1 week, and then another week, maybe buy another one or two when you're at Home Depot. Or a lot of this stuff was just bought like onesie-twosie type stuff. And over time, 5 years, onesie-twosie turns into hundreds of things. And now this is a really respectable garage in my own opinion. So let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? Am I missing anything that I should have in here that I just haven't really thought about. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? So again, video a day till we hit 100,000 subscribers. I thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Should have that strip in for that tire, and we'll do that. That'll be tomorrow's video. So stay tuned.